Today, we're jumping into two incredibly powerful ancient frameworks for understanding reality itself. We're going to see how a famous story from ancient Greece and a core insight from ancient India actually point to the exact same, pretty startling conclusion about the world we think we know. You know that feeling when you're scrolling through social media and you just get this sense that something's off? Like the perfect lives and highlight reels are just a distorted, funhouse mirror version of what's real? Well, what if that feeling applies to, everything? Not just our screens, but our entire reality. To really dig into that idea, we're first going to head to ancient Greece for one of the most famous allegories in all of philosophy, Plato's allegory of the cave. Now, this is an ancient story, for sure, but you're about to see just how unbelievably modern it still feels. Okay, picture this. There's a group of people who've lived their entire lives deep inside a cave. Since they were kids, they've been chained up, forced to stare at a blank wall right in front of them. That's all they can see. Now, behind them, there's a fire burning, and people are walking back and forth in front of that fire, carrying all sorts of objects. So what do the prisoners see? Just the flickering shadows of those objects on the wall. And for them, these shadows aren't just shadows, they are reality. It's the only thing they've ever known. So after describing this pretty bizarre scene, Plato's character Glaucon says, "You are describing a strange image, and they are strange prisoners." And then Socrates hits him with the punchline, a line that has just echoed through centuries. They are like us. Get that? He's making this absolutely radical claim that we are the prisoners, and that the reality we all accept as normal might be nothing more than shadows on a wall. So, what happens if one of these prisoners is suddenly freed? Well, Plato was really clear about this. The journey from a comfortable illusion to a difficult truth, well, it's not easy. In fact, it's really, really painful. First, the prisoner is forced to stand up and turn around. The light from the fire, something he's never seen directly, is painful. It's confusing. He can't make sense of anything. Then, he's basically dragged, kicking and screaming, up the steep, rugged path out of the cave. When he finally gets out into the world above, the sunlight is so blinding he can't see a single thing. The truth, in all its glory, is at first just a painful, confusing blur. Wisdom isn't some gentle awakening. It is a radical, jarring, and totally disorienting shift in perspective. Okay, so Plato's allegory leaves us with this huge, profound problem. We could be living in a prison of our own perception and not even know it. But what's so fascinating is that thousands of miles away, in ancient India, another tradition was exploring this exact same idea, just using totally different language. So from this Eastern perspective, the whole problem gets reframed. Where Plato talks about a physical cave or we mistake shadows for real things, Buddhism points to a fundamental condition of our minds. It suggests we're living in a world where we mistake this pervasive state called dukkha for just normal life. Now, that word, dukkha, is often just translated as suffering, but that translation barely scratches the surface. It's so much more subtle than that. I mean, yeah, it includes the big, obvious pains of life, but the real key here is that it also points to that low-level background hum of dissatisfaction, that feeling that something is always just a little bit off, right? That general unease that we just learn to accept as the way life is. That's dukkha. And in a way, dukkha is the very atmosphere inside Plato's cave. So how did the Buddha even come to this insight? Well, it wasn't through some abstract theory or by winning a philosophical debate. The sources describe it as a kind of direct seeing, a deep knowing, almost like a gut intuition. He saw how beings were trapped in these endless cycles of birth and death, often in really tough conditions. And he realized that not knowing the fundamental laws of the universe, like karma, wasn't just some intellectual mistake. It was actively dangerous. That ignorance was the cave, and it was the danger of staying there that made him want to teach a way out. Okay, so if the cave is the state of dukkha, how in the world do we get out? This is where Buddhism offers something incredibly practical, almost like a blueprint, a four-step escape plan known as the Four Noble Truths. You can think of it just like a doctor's diagnosis. It's a very logical problem-solving model. Number 1, you identify the problem, this pervasive unease, dukkha. Number 2, you find the root cause, which Buddhism calls samudaya, basically our deep-seated craving and clinging. Third, you realize there is a cure, a solution called nirodha, which is the complete end of that unease. And finally, number 4, you followed a prescription to get there, the path itself, or magga. But that problem-solving model, that's just one layer. There's another, much deeper way to look at this whole framework. It's not just a clinical diagnosis, you can actually see it as a kind of cosmic battle for the very nature of your reality. In this more spiritual view, the first two truths, dukkha and its cause, represent the destructive forces in the world. They're the forces of ignorance and craving. Think of them as the chains, the fire, and the shadows that keep us locked up inside the cave. But the last two truths, cessation and the path, they represent the constructive, the liberating forces. They are the steep climb out, the sunlight, and the clear vision that guides us into what's real. And this is where it all just clicks together. When you see the world through this lens, as a struggle between the forces that imprison us and the forces that can free us, the world itself becomes, as the source material puts it, a kind of cage or cave. I mean, that is an almost perfect parallel to how Plato described our fundamental human condition 2.5 millennia ago.
So the crucial point here is that none of this, not the cave, not dukkha, is meant to be pessimistic or depressing. It is the absolute opposite. It's like finally being handed the rulebook for the game of life so you can actually learn how to play it skillfully.
The big takeaway from both of these ancient paths is really this deeply empowering message. Understanding the fundamental laws of nature, whether you call that Plato's form of the good or the Buddhist laws of cause and effect, gives you more control over your life, not less. Think about it this way. Gravity exists whether you understand the physics behind it or not, right? The laws of reality are already operating. But knowing them, becoming aware of how they work, lets you work with them consciously. It's the difference between being a leaf just getting tossed around by the wind and becoming a sailor who can use that exact same wind to chart a course and get where you want to go. And so, this all leaves us with one last big, provocative question. Both Plato's cave and the Buddhist truths offer us a map. They lay out the hidden rules of reality, and they show us a path from the darkness into the light. So the only question that's really left for us to answer is, now that you know the rules, how are you going to choose to play the game?